Time travel is possible, and to prove it, we're gonna steal the sun. What? Why? But not the current sun, that would be too complicated. We're going back in time to steal the pre-sun, the cloud of gas and dust that existed 4.6 billion years ago, before gravity collapsed it and the sun got all hot and bothered. And I have the perfect plan. 7 methods, 1 target, and we'll be in and out before your great-grandmother's even born. Here's the plan. We go fast, very fast. In 1905, Einstein established that time does not move at the same speed for everyone. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. This is not a theory, it's a confirmed, measured, repeatedly tested fact. For example, the twin paradox. One twin stays on Earth. One boards a spacecraft traveling at close to the speed of light for what feels like 1 year. He eventually returns. The Earth twin has aged decades. The spacecraft twin is now younger. Shh, the viewers don't like when you ask stupid questions. As I was saying, GPS satellites are moving so fast that their clocks actually run a tiny bit wrong every single day. If nobody fixed this, your Maps app would send you the wrong way by about 6 miles every day. Keep ignoring it, and eventually it's directing you straight into the ocean. So the plan is we accelerate. We approach the speed of light. Time slows for us. The universe ages around us. We watch 4.6 billion years of cosmic history pass outside the window while we barely age at all. Perfect plan. A few problems. Velocity time dilation only goes forward. We age slower. The universe ages faster. We arrive in the future, a future where the sun has already burned through all its fuel and is limping along as a white dwarf. We need to go backward. Velocity time dilation does not go backward. It has never gone backward. It's mathematically incapable of going backward. Plus, to achieve speed of light travel, we need to lose a lot of mass, and honestly, that second donut isn't doing us any favors. Velocity was not the only tool that crazy-hair, cousin-wedding physicist gave you. Gravity also slows time. The stronger the gravitational field around you, the slower time moves for you. This is gravitational time dilation, predicted in 1915, confirmed repeatedly since. Here's how it works. A clock at sea level runs slightly slower than a clock on a mountaintop. The mountaintop is further from Earth's center. Less gravity. Time moves fractionally faster. A clock at the summit of Everest gains about 30 microseconds per year compared to one at sea level, which sounds trivial until you scale it up to a black hole. Position yourself near the event horizon of a supermassive black hole. The gravitational field is so extreme that time for you slows dramatically relative to the rest of the universe. Spend 1 hour near the event horizon, then return to Earth to find decades have passed here. Centuries, depending on how close you got. This is the basis of the plan. We hover close enough to a sufficiently massive black hole. We wait. The universe ages around us. Problem: gravitational time dilation, like velocity time dilation, only goes in one direction. We slow our own time relative to the universe. The universe moves forward. We emerge in the future relative to our starting point, not the past. Again, reaching the sun post its glory days. We need the universe to go backward relative to us. Neither of these methods does that. They are both, at their core, ways to experience less time than everyone else. They're not ways to visit a time that's already happened. I suppose we could jump into the black hole and go back interstellar style, but there's too much uncertainty. We could get trapped, or end up in a universe without stars. Or worse, one where the Beatles never existed. Unfortunately, attempt 2 is also a failure. A wormhole is a tunnel through space-time. Enter one end, exit the other. The two ends can exist in different locations in space. They can also exist in different locations in time. Einstein and physicist Nathan-Rosen first described these tunnels in 1935. They called them Einstein-Rosen bridges. Their holes punch through the fabric of reality with a destination that may or may not be 4.6 billion years ago and may or may not be survivable. But this is our first method that actually allows backward travel. A traversable wormhole with one mouth anchored in our present and one mouth placed in the past would allow physical passage between the two time periods. The plan is to step through here, step out 4.6 billion years ago. The solar nebula will be right there. We vacuum it up and store it in this here interdimensional storage unit. However, to keep a wormhole open, you would need something called exotic matter. Exotic matter has negative energy density. It pushes outward instead of pulling inward. Without it, the wormhole collapses the instant anything tries to pass through. And I have some right here. Okay, so we don't have any exotic matter. And humanity has never found exotic matter. You're not even certain it exists. Emu! Attempt 3 is another failure. In 1974, physicist Frank Tipler proposed the following. Build a cylinder. Make it infinitely long. Make it as dense as a neutron star. Spin it. The rotation would drag space-time around it. Space-time curves would form. Some of those curves would loop backward in time. Orbit the cylinder closely enough, and you could return to an earlier point in your own timeline. For reference, a neutron star contains the mass of the sun compressed into a sphere roughly 12.4 miles across. 1 teaspoon of neutron star material weighs 10 million tons. The Tipler cylinder needs to be as dense as that. Also infinitely long. The longest man-made structure on Earth is the Great Wall of China at about 13,000 miles. We need infinity. The gap between 13,000 miles and infinity is... infinity. I suppose we could strip this universe of material, but that would be hard to hide what we're doing. And trying to steal the sun definitely carries multi-generational sentencing. And there is a second problem. Stephen Hawking argued that any structure capable of enabling time travel would be automatically destroyed by quantum effects the moment it approached functionality. He called this the chronology protection conjecture. The universe appears to have a no time travel policy that it actively enforces. Unfortunately, another failure. In 1949, mathematician Gödel gave Albert Einstein a birthday present. It was a solution to Einstein's own field equations. Gödel's solution described a rotating universe. In a rotating universe, space-time curves back on itself. When it curves sufficiently, closed time-like curves form naturally. No exotic matter or infinite cylinder needed. The geometry of the universe itself creates the loops. A spacecraft in Gödel's universe could travel far enough in one direction and arrive at an earlier point in time. We would arrive at the solar nebula 4.6 billion years ago. Einstein's response to Gödel was that the result must be wrong because it was too disturbing. But Gödel had found a valid mathematical solution, and Einstein could not dispute the math. The problem is that this universe does not appear to be rotating. So Gödel's universe is a valid solution to the equations. It's just not the solution that describes where we currently are. And unfortunately, management has not given me access to any Gödel universes. But here's the part that bothered Einstein and should bother you. If one valid solution to the equations allows time travel, there is no fundamental law of physics that explicitly forbids it. Only the specific configuration of your universe prevents it, at least for now. But it seems Gödel's solution is currently another dead end. A cosmic string is a defect in the fabric of space-time. When the universe formed and cooled after the Big Bang, some regions of space-time did not cool evenly. The uneven regions left cracks. Those cracks are cosmic strings. They are thinner than a proton and stretch across the entire observable universe, with each centimeter weighing a mass so large that physicists can't agree on the exact number. Here's the useful part. If two cosmic strings pass close to each other at high speed, the space-time distortion between them creates a closed time-like curve, a loop in time. A spacecraft orbiting the point where the strings nearly intersect could arrive at a different moment in history. Physicist J. Richard Gott proposed this in 1991. The math is valid and the geometry works, if we position the spacecraft correctly and the strings do the rest. Three problems. Humanity has never observed a cosmic string. You don't know if they exist. If they do exist, the mass per unit length would be catastrophically destructive to anything in a significant radius. And the energy required to use them for time travel would be equivalent to the total mass energy of an entire galaxy. The sun outputs 383 trillion watts. This method needs more than that. Unfortunately, we used up most of our fuel on the last 5 attempts. But don't despair, we have one more attempt and I have a good feeling about this one. A standard black hole is a dead end. Cross the event horizon, the singularity at the center destroys everything. Physics breaks, and so does everything else. But in 1963, mathematician Kerr discovered something. A rotating black hole is different. A rotating black hole has a ring-shaped singularity instead of a point. That ring has a hole in the center. In theory, if you flew through that ring at exactly the right angle and exactly the right velocity, you wouldn't be destroyed. You might instead enter a closed time-like curve, a path through space-time that loops backward to an earlier time. 4.6 billion years earlier, if the math works out. But in theory is doing a lot of work in everything I just said. The math says the trajectory must be perfect. The ring isn't large. The tolerances are not forgiving. 1 degree off and you hit the ring. 1 degree off and the universe keeps you and everything you came with. No one has confirmed what the interior of a rotating black hole actually contains. This is based entirely on equations that have never been field tested. The reason they've not been field tested is obvious. Billy, you did it! Good day to you, sir. Well, shit. We need a better method. Oh, and while we regroup, watch this next video.